Shalom from Israel. I'm Avi Melamed, founder and president of Inside the Middle East Intelligence Perspectives. In this short briefing, I will talk about a significant event that is supposed to take place in the region in the next couple of days, and that is the Pope's visit to Iraq. Iraq is some 40 million people nation. 65% of the Iraqi are Shiites, about 30% are Sunni Arabs or Sunni Kurds. The rest are minorities. One of the minority groups in Iraq are Christians. In the past, the Christians in Iraq used to be something like 1.5 million people, but today the number decreased significantly to some 300,000 people. Years of terror, instability, persecutions driven out Christians from Iraq. The Pope arrives in Iraq when the state of Iraq is in a very critical conjuncture and it is fighting for its independence and sovereignty. The reason Iraq is fighting for restoring its sovereignty is because the fact that to a large extent, Iraq is controlled by its neighbor from the east, Iran. The Mullah regime in Iran has been pursuing a hegemonic vision in the region entitled by the Jordanian King Abdullah II by the name of the Shiite Crescent or the Iranian Crescent. As part of their hegemonic vision, the Mullah regime has been scattering armies of terror, militias in different parts of the Middle East, including Iraqi Shiite militias. In Iraq, there is a special military establishment known by the name of al-Hashd al-Sha'bi, the Popular Mobilization Unit. This is an establishment that appeared in Iraq to fight ISIS. It is composed of dozens and dozens of militias. Most of them are Shiite Iraqis. The PMU, the Popular Mobilization Unit, is actually a formal part of the military establishment in Iraq, but it is acting parallel to the Iraqi armed forces. It is budgeted by the Iraqi government. It is armed by Iraq. However, some of the militias, some of the Shiite Iraqi militias at the PMU are following the orders of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. Those militias actually dictate, using their weapon, they dictate Iran's wills upon the Iraqi political system. That dichotomy, schizophrenic situation resulted in a split within the Iraqi Shiites. Majority of the Iraqi Shiites reject the intervention of Iran in Iraq. This is the camp that I call the Iraqi Shiite nationalists. That camp argued that Iraq's major characteristic is not the Shiite component, but rather the Arab ethnicity. And therefore they argue Iraq is an integral part of the Arab world. Hence, they totally reject the intervention of Iran in Iraq's domestic affairs. The other camp argued that Iraq's major characteristic is not the Arab ethnicity, but rather the Shiite component. And therefore they argue that Iraq should not be part of the Arab world, but rather should be under the umbrella of Iran. And that is the reason why those militias are supporting and welcoming Iranian intervention. In the inner split within the Shiites in Iraq, there is a very significant political and religious figure, Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani. Ali al-Sistani is considered to be one of the most, if not the most, influential figure in Iraq. He is actually the person that gave the religious clarification for the establishment of the Popular Mobilization Unit. Ali al-Sistani, 90 years old, is originally Iranian. However, he lives most of his life in Iraq. Iraq hosts the most significant shrines of the Shiites in the cities of Najaf and Kerbela. Ali al-Sistani rejects the Iranian intervention in Iraq. He actually rejects the whole philosophy that guides the Iranian Mullah regime. Therefore, as you could understand, Ali al-Sistani is standing on the side of the Iraqi nationalist Shiites. And that brings us back to the visit of the popes to Iraq. One of the meetings scheduled for the Pope during his visit in Iraq is with Ali al-Sistani. Obviously, on one level, this is a meeting between two major spiritual leaders. However, now that we understand the position and role of Ali al-Sistani in the context of the inner Shiite split in Iraq and in the context of the struggle of restoring Iraq's sovereignty and independence, we now understand that the meeting with the Pope has an additional meaning. In fact, some will argue that this meeting is a sign or a signal that the Pope himself sends both to Iraq and to Iran, actually saying to the Iraqi and the Iranians, Iraq should keep its sovereignty. Iraq should be independent. Obviously, this is an hidden signal under the ground, but it is very significant. What does the future hold for Iraq? In my upcoming book, hopefully going to be released in the spring of 2021, I write the following sentence. Iraq's destiny as a country will be defined first and foremost by the outcome of the power struggle between Iraqi Shiite nationalists and Iranian-backed Iraqi Shiite militias. I'm Avi Melamed. Thank you for watching. I hope that we'll have the opportunity to get together again soon. Until then, stay well and shalom from Israel.